you can live a life in flow where your deepest heart's desires become reality. At Set to Love, we offer strategies and ideas on how you can stay out of crazy town. See, your human experience is meant to be lived with meaning, purpose, and creativity. You are here to contribute through your essence. We are best friends, moms, entrepreneurs, and above all, find our flow in assisting you to find yours. We come together weekday mornings to bring you ideas to fall deeper in love with your life and the journey that you are on. Take what works and ditch the rest, and always stay set to love. Thank you for being a part of this community. We're all designed to live in flow. So let's go. Confidence. That is what we're going to be talking about today. Welcome back to another episode of Set to Love. I am one of your co-hosts, Eva Payne, here with my best friend, Shelley Garrett.
Good morning.
And a special guest today. Good morning, Shelley.
Good morning. And I'm so excited to speak with Julie. This is going to be so great.
Me too. Good morning, Julie DeLuca Collins. Welcome to an episode of Set to Love. Let me give you a proper introduction. I met Julie a couple weeks ago online, and isn't that what we're all doing these days? Networking online, finding people who are like-minded to us and bringing them to our communities. And Julie is one of those people. She's had a long career in the corporate world, and today she has her own podcast, which is doing amazing. She started while in quarantine, and she's also the founder and CEO of a coaching company called Go Confidently. So please welcome Julie Collins to Set to Love today. Good morning. Good morning.
Please, you speak my language. Love flowing through life. It's definitely something that speaks to me. So I am thrilled to be here. I thank you for the opportunity to share my time with you. I've been so excited.
Oh, we're so excited to have you. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? I mean, I know I gave a little introduction, but just kind of get our viewers up to speed on who you are and why you're here with us today.
Well, let's see. I am someone who has always been a confident dreamer. My dad told me once upon a time, go confidently in the direction of your dreams. And I did that in the corporate world when I was trying to build a career and climb the corporate ladder. And I did that in many ways in the way in which I live my life. I have traveled the world. I love traveling, and I've done a lot of different experiences. Some of them have scared the crud out of me, but I also decided to, eventually start taking another road in my life. And that was sort of exploring, what does it mean to continue to give back to the community? I work in a lot of different women programs that support women in leadership. I volunteer a lot, and I got my coaching certification mainly for me, for personal growth, but I really love the work in collaboration. So when pandemic hit, and my corporate world sort of evolved and changed, and it had to evolve and pivot from that because our company was hit like many other companies are being hit. I decided, well, what perfect time. It's going to scare the crud out of me, but I'm going to go and live my dream. I always said I was going to start a podcast. So my husband got equipment, and here we are. And now I am working with women and just empowering them, because that's a question I get asked all the time being in the corporate world. You don't see a lot of women in leadership, and the higher you get, the less we are prominent out there. So I wanted to share what has worked for me. What are some of these secrets? And it doesn't take, all this amazingness. It just takes consistency and focus. And that's what I want to be able to help other women with.
Wow. I love that. So when you were pivoting from being in this corporate world, and I mean, I think there's a lot of people out there right now who are like in this Groundhog's Day of life, kind of just going through, it feels the same. Every day sort of feels the same. How do you step confidently into some dream or some idea that you might have? Like for you, starting the podcast, and for someone else, it might be, I don't know, starting a butter business or starting something different, that there's just this desire in their heart, like I want to create this bakery, or I want to create whatever. How do you go about finding that confidence within yourself to start something when you're not sure?
Well, we one of the biggest things is that first, and I struggle with this in a sense because I'm one of those like obnoxious type A high achievers. But first, we have to remember that we're all beginners. We're all
Mm.
beginning. And sometimes we feel like just when we start something, eventually, oh my God, we're there, right? But that's not how it happens. Success is a process, and being confident means that we're learning and we're going through this process, because the more that we see that our skills are building, the more motivated we're going to be to go out and keep trying. And the more that we keep trying, then the more confident we become. But ultimately, dreams really need to evolve and become actual tangible goals that we break down into manageable steps. And that's the first thing that really happens. And like with anything, like in this new career, I needed to set very specific goals and then track those goals and work toward them every single day.
I love that. That's laying bricks every day. And Shelley and I
Yeah,
talk a lot
laying
about.
bricks for sure. And in the corporate world, this is something that, we learn. We have these yearly goals for a company or organization, a non-for-profit, and then we break it down into quarters. And what are some of the key indicators that we're going to look at? Is it working? What are we doing? Oh, did we get a return on our investment? And really being able to measure that. And I think that, for instance, a woman who's just starting to make butter and wants to launch a wonderful, delicious butter that is so natural and organic, and it's going to really revolutionize how we bake and cook, right? And she's got this great family recipe. Well, she needs to create some systems for herself. She may have been doing this all along for herself, but now that she's taking it out, she needs to be able to understand, like, what are some key metrics. And or even if your goal is, hey, I want to lose 20 pounds that I gained through COVID, right? And hey, I'm gonna own up to that. I had lost 40 pounds in my health journey. I've gained 19 of those, and now I've narrowing it down and going back to the drawing board. Okay, what are my goals? What do I need to do? And what are the actions daily that are going to get me to that? So planning ahead and then executing is very, very key.
Oh my gosh. Yes, that's so true. How do you even know though, like what first steps to take? I mean, where does that, I think for some people, the dream lives inside their head for so long.
Mhm.
And it's like that big step of actually putting something into the world, like giving it to someone else, whether it's your podcast online or whether it's your butter to your neighbor, it's like sometimes how do you find that confidence and like even taking that first step when, maybe you're just not ready or you don't think it's ready or you're not ready or something just has to be a little bit tweaked here and there. What would you say to that?
Well, here's the thing. Perfection is the enemy of good and then the enemy of done. And for most of us, we think that we have to have it all together and we have to, oh my gosh, I can't do it until this is right and the stars align. But the reality is that things are not always going to be aligned. And sometimes you're going to be sitting around waiting to feel confident about something, and that's not going to happen. You have to just take the leap. You have to make a plan and say, okay, I want to launch a business. Or for me, for instance, with a podcast, I didn't know anything. I mean, I've done some basic research about what the podcast is, and I thought, okay, let's do it. And I remember my husband said, okay, so when do you want to launch? And he got the equipment at the beginning of April. And because I had a big birthday coming up, and he knew that the fact that I was going to be in quarantine for a big birthday, that I was not going to be able to have the birthday party I was planning for, he thought it would be a good way to distract me by getting something that could keep me occupied. And he said, so when do you want to launch? And I'm sure he was thinking I was going to say the summer sometime.
Right.
I said, let's launch on my birthday. That's a big day. And we took the leap. I took the leap and I brought him along with it. And I think that those are the things that really make an impact. And for those of you who are thinking, I don't know, if I can do it, here's the thing. tell somebody you love, tell someone that supports you, because that accountability, one, you already told and you put it out into the universe that you were doing that. So that's going to give you more accountability. Number two, sometimes we have to believe from the people that love us. Sometimes we are not always going to feel like we've got it and that we're in our zone, but the people that love us and know us will be able to push us along and grab our hand and take us down into the unknown, right? And that's really what matters.
Wow,
That's so good.
I'm so sorry. I've been going in and out. My internet's been crazy this morning. But I did want to say that I think the cool thing is when you're saying be accountable or whatever, give the date. That really does. It really pushes you. This is what you're going to do. I think the problem that a lot of people have, possibly, and maybe you could help with this, is that they're so afraid of judgment. I mean, the fear of, it's just like, even for myself, I have fear even doing this podcast. It's really a stretch. But I do it because I know it's pure and it's from my heart. And the people that don't think I'm good at it, that's okay. I'm learning and growing, but I'm putting myself out there. But do you have a suggestion for people? I have Eva that pushes me. What would you say to those people that are so afraid that people aren't going to like it? Or
right. So here's the biggest thing, and one of the, and I struggle with this too, and I think that we all struggle with a touch of imposter syndrome, and we feel like, oh, people are going to say, like, who is she to do that? And what does she think she's doing? And who does she think she is? But here's the reality. The reality is that if people have an opinion on something, typically, the only opinions I tend to focus on are the opinions of those people who have gone before me, who are and those people who I want to be like. If I have an opinion, for instance, I think we all have that aunt who always has an opinion about what you're doing and has no connection to your everyday life and is so out of touch with reality. But you tell her, "Hey, I'm going to be doing this," right? And she's like, "Oh, that's terrible," right? There's always going to be someone in your life who is going to have that. And you have to learn that, maybe that aunt or that friend that you had in third grade is going to be criticizing you, but her opinion doesn't matter. The only opinion that you can control and you can change and you can build upon is the opinion from you. Because even the people that love you, although they'll support you and hold you accountable, ultimately, the only person that's going to push you forward, that's going to create confidence for you, is that voice inside you. And how you learn to manage and speak to yourself is going to be very key. And again, that if, and I tell people, and I've heard this from a couple of my mentors, and I talk loosely on my mentors, the people who are out in the internet, right? Because I feel like I know them so much. But if someone has an opinion and they're not doing it, then that opinion doesn't count. But also, if you're in a room of people and those people are smarter than you, then you are in the right room. And many times we begin to take into account the opinions of people maybe whom are not necessarily going in the same direction of your dreams, of your goals, of your purpose. And we all have very different purposes. So don't listen to the person sitting on the sideline. Maybe their purpose is to, do what they're doing with their life and not necessarily be in the same space that you are.
Great advice. That was
so
really good.
And Julie, one final thing before we head off today. I'm curious, how do you think when you're really pursuing that thing that you love, like you said, I really wanted to start a podcast. This was a dream of mine. Don't you find that when you're really in pursuit of that thing that you have so much devotion for and so much admiration and hope and excitement around, that in itself is just enough fuel to get you through some of those criticisms or some of those things that might hold you back because you love it and you're so excited about it?
Absolutely, indeed. And I think that we go back to that whole planning process. And I think that if you're so excited about a dream and you're living in this amazing purpose and you are, you're focusing on what you're doing daily and you connect to your wins. We are so quick to focus on, oh, I didn't do that. And we criticize ourselves and we put ourselves down. But here's the thing. Focus on what you did right. Focus on the things that you were able to accomplish. And I think that the more that we focus on what we're doing right, the more that we keep connected to, oh, I did it right, and I know I can do it, and I'm moving forward. And don't ever think that even when you have setbacks, those setbacks are creating the strength in you to be able to handle what's coming your way in the future.
Yeah. The cup is half full.
Oh,
Connect to your wins.
Connecting your wins. Yeah, I love it.
Julie, where are we going to find you? Before we go, can you tell our viewers how they can find you?
Absolutely.
And, so we can keep in touch.
Well, I would like to continue to keep in touch with you ladies. You guys are right up my alley. You speak my language, and that's the language of supporting other women. So people can find me at goconfidentlycoaching.com. And that is my main website. You can learn a little bit about me, the things that I've done, how you can connect with me as far as learning. And I have I actually have a Peaceful You course that's free for people. It's a 21-day course, especially for all of us who maybe need to connect to being a little more mindful. And this is a process that I take you through for 21 days and how to learn everyday mindfulness for your life. And the actual lessons are on my podcast. So you can go in and at any time, whether you're getting ready for bed or you're waking up in the morning and you need a 10-minute pick-me-up. So there's 21 days in August that is Mindful You Peaceful You rather, and it's in the podcast. And the podcast is called Casa de Confidence because I live in the house of confidence. And my husband is my co-host, and then I interview some amazing women, and he just kind of plays in the background and gives me a hard time for
he's your believer. We need that.
He is my believer. But Casa de Confidence is the name of the podcast. You can find me on Instagram at Julie DeLuca Collins or on Facebook at Julie DeLuca Collins for both the podcast, also Casa de Confidence or Go Confidently Coaching. So you can find me online for sure.
Wow. Julie, thank you so very much for being here today. And thanks to all of our viewers. Shelley, I love you. Another great episode of Set to Love. I'm excited. We've got amazing guests this week, so stay tuned for that. Remember, we are here every weekday morning at 8:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And if you want to connect with us, you can get to us at settolove.com. And I'll make sure to have all of Julie's information in the notes section. So if you missed it, you can just click on down there and get in touch with her there. Thanks, everyone. Julie, hang on one second while we say bye to our guests. We love you. Thank you for staying set to love so you can flow for life.